And we're getting started. Welcome to episode 6 of Alex's Asylum. Joining me, we have a very special guest, Mr. Jim Fannin. Jim is the mental performance coach for over 28 major leaguers, including Alex Rodriguez, Frank Thomas, corporate executives. He is the world leader in getting you in the zone. Welcome, Jim.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So to kick things off, a lot of people, when they look at some of the athletes that you've worked with, they fall in golf, they fall in baseball, they fall in tennis too. Golf and baseball in particular are hand-eye coordination sports. And for the listening audience who's maybe familiar with sports in general, but less familiar with how important the mental aspect of hand-eye coordination sports is. Would you mind sharing, how your expertise has helped the people that you've worked with perform at the next level, and why specifically hand-eye sports seem to be most important, mental skills seem to be most important in terms of their translation into hand-eye sports?
When you're in a zone state, there is a physical and a mental phenomenon that happens simultaneously. First of all, your jaw is always unhinged. That's why Jordan stuck his tongue out when he went to the hole. You cannot be in the zone with your jaw hinged. So the jaw's unhinged, the eyes are dilated, the shutter speed in the eyes can even double or triple shutter speed. That gives you the illusion everything is in slow motion. The thing about so many of the sports is you don't have time to consciously think about anything, especially when you're facing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So we train to not think. So we have a system called the SCORE system, SCORE. With this system, you'll reduce your thoughts by 30, maybe even 50%. With this system, you can program all of those motor skill techniques, all those motor skill parts of your game. You practice that so you don't have to think about it when you play. We can change a habit in 7 to 10 days. And Alex, conventional wisdom for decades has been, if you want to change a habit, that's going to take you 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Well, I coached full-time on the Pro Tour in the 70s. I had 7 players I personally was coaching, top 10 in the world. Who's got 6 weeks to change a habit? If you take that much time, you're off the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned swiftly with some research in 1974-75 on how to change a habit in 7 to 10 days. And that was a game changer for our company. And that's when people started coming from around the world to our offices to learn this thought management system. The system's been tried and proven 51 years. When you say 28 major leaguers, that's 28 all-stars. That's 4 Cy Young Award winners. That's a Gold Glover in every position. That's a Silver Slugger in every position. So I coach champions. This program is for a champion. And if you want to know how a champion thinks, we can show you how to do that. I may not be able to get you hit a golf ball like Luke Donald or strike a tennis ball like Djokovic, but I can tell you exactly how you can think like that, even though you may not have the physical skills to back it up.
Well, that's wonderful. And, my experience as a Vanderbilt athlete who probably had one of the higher high school GPAs on my college team is my coaches and teammates always made fun of me for analyzing things. I had good math skills, good analytical skills. And I didn't realize until I was, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, that analytical skills and analysis that's taught in the classroom at best requires at least 3 seconds to apply, but realistically, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or even 60 minutes to apply. But the decisions that you have to make in sports, particularly hand-eye coordination sports, require that you make the decision in a fraction of a second. A lot of people who don't play hand-eye coordination sports or don't play sports in general don't realize that these two systems of thoughts are incompatible, or perhaps in opposition. Have you found that people who have advanced degrees or who have spent more time in the educational system find it more challenging to get in the zone? Or, perhaps maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe it takes them 9 days, 10 days to
Well,
implement the same.
here's what I found. The higher your IQ, the higher your intelligence, it may be more difficult to not get in the zone, but to stay there over a long period of time. I've coached lower IQ athletes, some very well-known ones. I won't volunteer their names, but we have routines, pre-performance routines. We have adjustment routines. Our adjustment routines take 5 to 30 seconds, and they've been on the mound during the World Series. They've been on the hardwood of the NBA. I mean, I've coached Doc Rivers as a coach. I coached Grant Hill as a player. So we've used this in 22 pro sports, and the results have been overwhelming for us. We don't advertise. We don't market. We always have a waiting list, and that's based on our clients refer us. But the system, it's made up of 5 markers. The first thing we do is we draw a blueprint for you. Nothing great happens without a blueprint. A great life, a great career, a great podcast. You need a blueprint, and you need to have the discipline to commit to the stepping stones to reach it. Self-discipline is the first thing we do with every athlete, every company, is to get them in a discipline, and we create a blueprint. But when I created a blueprint for Alex Rodriguez, I wanted him to be the best brother he can be, the best son he can be, the best father he can be. So our program is not just to be the best baseball player. You're more than that. And I've told every athlete, you're more than a golfer. You're a son, you're a daughter, you're a brother. And so our program is a whole life program. Self-discipline's first. Second, we have many tools to help you to not only focus, to elongate your focus, hold it longer. And if you start to waver, we have quick tools, 5 seconds to get it back. The third marker that we have is just your belief system. Without a positive belief system, obviously nothing's going to happen. That's the glue that holds everything together. We have a lot of tips, tools, and techniques to bolster confidence, optimism, expectancy. Belief is a big part of it, but belief by itself is not going to cut it. I believe I'm good. No, I expect to win. That's a different deal. I know I can win. Well, that's different than expectancy. And of course, when you have a sense of knowing, you don't have to talk it. You just do it. And that's where we take our athletes. We find out where they are with their optimism. But there's 2 other markers that everybody needs, and we're missing a lot of this. When you're self-disciplined, you have cortisol. When you're focused, you have glycogen, oxytocin, and when you're confident, you have endorphins. But the 2 other missing ingredients are relaxation. As I said, you got to have your jaw unhinged to be in the zone, but you may not have enough serotonin. We help athletes relax during moments of truth and just execute the basics. And then, of course, the last marker that I think is missing in 2023 right now, you got to love what you do. You got to do what you love, but you got to love the challenge, and you got to love being on the wall of scrutiny. Unfortunately, that's part of the pro ranks right now. Just because you're good and because you can ball and execute the basics, can you do it when 60,000 are watching? Can you do it when 10 million are watching? Can you do it when 1 billion is watching like we had in the World Cup? Now, that's the wall of scrutiny, and not everybody's cut out for that. So we address all of that: self-discipline, concentration, optimism, relaxation, enjoyment. This formula that we've had, Alex, it takes less than 3% of your waking hours. It's never failed in 51 years. which is, blows me away that it hasn't. I keep waiting. Maybe somebody's going to fail, but it just works because we figured out how the brain works. The research we did was early 1974, 75, 18-month research on how to maximize super learning in children. We tested 250 kids 4 to 8 years old on super learning. And that's when I discovered those 5 markers: self-discipline, concentration, optimism, relaxation, and enjoyment. So I can ask your audience, what's your weakest link? If you could only order one of those at our Zone Cafe, what would you need? Do you need to relax more when the money's on the table? Do you need to focus more on what's important? So we do these score checks with our athletes on a daily basis. We've got a huge group of athletes from junior high all the way to professionals at the highest level. And of course, we coach a lot of individuals, moms, dads, parenting, relationships. The formula that we have is for everybody across the board. And that's why I'm excited about 2023. I think our country, definitely 70% of us, according to the American Psychiatric Association, we're having mental health challenges. 73% of us have symptoms of depression. That's pretty shocking to me. But that's also athletes, top athletes, they're feeling the same thing as everybody else at home. So this formula can simplify, balance, and give you a definite edge on the competition.
Well, that's awesome. And you mentioned a positive belief system. And one thing that comes to my mind regarding a positive belief system is a rational person growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was an atheist, or at least an agnostic, when I was in high school. And I noticed when I was in college and in the professional ranks that some of my teammates who remained the calmest and most confident under pressure were religious. They'd go to church every Sunday. Is that something that you've noticed with the people that you work with? Have you noticed that the religiously inclined are able to integrate your system more effectively and perform better under pressure than those who might fall outside that bucket?
I don't agree with that. I do see it. I do understand it. And I think there's quite a bit. I think the people that do have the religion, they're talking about it. The people that don't, they're not talking about it. Uh, but my program's been called Backdoor Spirituality. I will tell you what it is. It is an energy management system. Thoughts are kinetic energy. Every thought you have has an equal physical reaction, body language, emotional reaction, and even an intuitive psychic reaction. So our program is a thought management program. And when you're at your highest level, you'll have your least amount of thoughts. The best in the world think less, not more. And that's when it gets spiritual, living your life more in the present tense. We studied prayer, and I asked 22 religions. They thought I was being blasphemous. This was in the 1970s. What's this prayer thing all about? And why do you do it at night? And can I pray for a Rolls Royce? What's my limit? And if I don't get an answer, do I make an adjustment, or what do I do? Nobody had an answer. The Catholic Church, uh, none of them had an answer. But I realized that if you visualize what you want as opposed to what you don't want at night, which is when a lot of people pray, your subconscious records those thoughts and replays them 15 to 20 times while sleeping. That's abnormal. Normally, every thought we have in a day is recorded once. The subconscious then, when you go to sleep at night, replays it it records it, and at night it replays it one time. That's so you can permanently store it. But in that 30-minute window before sleep, the same thought that you may have had at 9 a.m., At 10 p.m., that thought is being recorded and replayed 15 to 20 times. So with an Alex Rodriguez, I'd sit in a chair in a hotel room, 1 a.m. in the morning, and mentally I would throw a baseball and he'd hit baseball solid, visualizing hitting solid the next day's pitcher. I did that for 14 years. And it replayed through the night. But if you go to bed thinking about what you don't want, well, Alex, now you know why you don't have a good night's sleep. Now you know why you wake up in the middle of the night. So going to bed positive is crucial. Every athlete I coach, all my CEOs I coach, that 30-minute window is a very positive window when they go to sleep at night.
Yeah, that's really good advice that anybody can apply. One other question out of left field is one thing that I've observed. I've heard through the grapevine that certain baseball players will play high. I watched Steph Curry, drain probably 12 threes in an NBA semifinals game, and see him getting interviewed after. He's talking slowly, and it's like this guy doesn't seem like he has adrenaline in his system. Is he playing high? Have you noticed that, any of the, I guess, have you noticed a translation between, either a doctor prescribed beta blocker or street level drugs, or even alcohol in the case of Olympic shooters, which is illegal for them to take because it's considered a performance enhancing drug? Have you noticed any sort of crossover between exogenous substances that reduce inhibition or reduce the rational brain from thinking and performance on the field?
Well, I totally understand everything you just said. And the answer is no. No, I haven't. I haven't noticed that. Uh, a runner's high. I go out and run 5 miles and I'm into mile 4. I can even have an out of body experience where I'm up above looking down, seeing me run. That is a runner's high. And any runners that are listening, you've been in that. And that is a euphoric type state. That's natural chemicals. You don't need extra chemicals outside to induce that. You just don't. Uh, you have the best chemicals right now between your ears. And we've studied all the chemicals natural in the body. But there's certain thoughts that trigger certain chemicals. You may need more enjoyment. So just smiling or laughing, you see a lot of athletes will laugh in the heat of battle. Well, when you laugh, like right now, if everybody started laughing, dopamine would be flooding into the bloodstream. That's why a smile is a great thing. Uh, Having your tongue out when you go to the basket, like Jordan did, that produces serotonin when the jaw's unhinged like that. So all the chemicals that you need to get into a zone state and hold it over a long period of time, it's natural. Can these other things help? Possibly. I'm definitely not into the illegal drugs. I wasn't into the illegal stuff Alex Rodriguez took. I quit him when he did that. I went back with him 2 years later, but he didn't need that. And when I first started working with him in 1996, he was skinny as a rail, hit 39 home runs, and was runner-up in MVP. He was taking nothing. He didn't even drink coffee. So do you need these drugs? No. Will they help? Well, I'm not going to get into that because I don't think you need them.
Well, that's really good insight. A little bit counter to my personal experience, but you've worked with more athletes for 51 years, as you said, than I have.
Well, look, certain things that you take may be the one chemical that you need, and it could relax me. Most of the athletes that struggle, let me explain really what happens. Right now, Alex, you probably are having 15 to 17 breaths a minute. That's the average person has 15 to 17 breaths
12 or
every
something,
single minute.
but yeah.
You may have 12. The best in the world when they're operating at max have 6 to 8 breaths a minute. And what happens is the heart rate goes up to 140, 160 typically breathing goes up proportionate. That's normal. Most of us do that. But the best in the world get their heart rate up 140, 160, and simultaneously lower the breathing. Now the blood flows through relaxed muscles. The blood flows more efficient. It'll get to the head, so you have more clarity. The blood will get to the large muscles, so you have inordinate quickness, speed, and agility. Breathing is the key for most people today to turn the corner to the next level. Can you have under 10 breaths a minute in the middle of a contest? And most people don't do that. Once you hit 20 breaths a minute, you'll have anxiety, frustration, and as you approach 30, you could be breathing out of a paper bag, hyperventilating. Most athletes, when I just start working with them, is to make sure their jaw's unhinged and get control of their breathing. We have push notifications for our clients. They will monitor their breathing every hour for 7 days. I want you to know that you control your breathing. Nobody, no circumstance, no occurrence, no situation, no condition, no wife, no girlfriend, no spouse increases your breathing. You must control that. The person with the most constants, Alex, in a game of variables prevails. Controlling your breathing, constant. Sleep, deep sleep, consistent, constant. Food intake, constant. Thoughts when I go to sleep in that 30-minute window needs to be a constant. When I wake up before I get out of bed to go to the bathroom, those wake up thoughts, constant. The best in the world chasing number one, for example, that number one thought tucks them in bed at night. It wakes them up in the morning. That's a constant. Pre-performance routines, constants. A toolbox to make routine changes. Those are constants. And the other thing where especially young athletes aren't great at, you must evaluate with no emotion, and the evaluation is a constant. I suck is not an evaluation. As a lot of one athlete told me 2 days ago, a new one, I go, how'd you do? And he goes, man, I sucked. And I said, I'm going to hang up.
So for the layperson watching, if they're on the verge of hyperventilating, they're stressed out, they're just trying to get positive thoughts in their head before they go to sleep. I think you said 6 to 8 breaths per minute was probably optimal for, if I'm recalling properly, for ideal thoughts. Is there any downside to really really slowing it down? Say 2 breaths a minute, right? Because most people can hold their breaths for 30 seconds. Is that
Well, yeah, yes, yes, because to go down to 2 breaths, 3 breaths, it takes a little more muscles to do that in the chest, and
mm,
and that's count. Now you're into the counter. You're going the opposite way. Typically the 6 to 8, but definitely under 10. You don't want to be in the teens when you're competing.
got it? And from working with high-level corporate executives, which you've done compared to athletes, high-level corporate executives have typically more education. They're probably a little bit higher IQ, to what you touched on earlier. I would imagine a lot of the core frameworks that you're teaching are the same, but how would you tailor your message to an overeducated person who did 12 years of primary education plus 4 years at an Ivy League school plus 2 years at an MBA? Versus somebody who signed out of high school like Alex Rodriguez, or he might not be the best example because he's actually fairly intelligent, but your stereotypical Major League Baseball player who signed out of high school, has 100 IQ, doesn't particularly like academics. How would the message to each of those people differ?
Alex, first thing I do is I create a life blueprint for you, and we segregate your life into standalone arenas. You have a self arena. That's your mental, physical well-being, your spirituality, or lack of spirituality. That's your self arena. That's a standalone. You have a son or daughter arena, my parents. You have your sport arena. A CEO has his company arena. He may be a spouse, separate arena. You're a dad, that's a separate life arena. We go in and create visions and corresponding goals for each segment of somebody's life. Most of the CEOs we've coached, they put all their happy eggs into one basket. That's not a good investment. You wake up, you're making $1 billion, you're divorced, you're overweight, and your son won't talk to you. That's not a life you want to live. And I have billionaires. 2 billionaires called me in Q4 of 2022. Billionaires. And I go, why are you calling me? I mean, I'm pretty blunt. What do you want from me? I said, you got all the money you need. What do you want? He goes, I'm miserable.
This is like a sales masterclass on how to vet your clients and pitch, make sure that they're pitching themselves to you rather than you pitching yourselves to them.
I don't pitch to anybody. I've got the goods. I've got the secret sauce. It's proven. I've got concrete tools. I've been doing it forever. People come to me and I decide if I want to coach you or not. And I'm not looking to coach you in one aspect of your life. If that's all you want, go see somebody else. You're more than an athlete. You're more than a corporate leader. You're so much more than that. You're an awesome soul having, hopefully, exciting human experiences. And you're a learning machine. So we want lifelong learners. That's who comes to us. We want people that want to get out of their comfort zone, go to the next level, and we can show you how to do it swiftly.
So that's awesome. And for our listening audience, we're going to have a wide range of income. So some of the people might be making, millions of dollars a year and could likely afford your services. The bulk of them are probably not making millions of dollars a year. So for somebody in the listening audience who's like making $100,000 but is looking to optimize themselves versus somebody who's making $2 million a year and is looking to optimize themselves, how can they learn the most from Jim Fannin? How can they get the most out of your services, and where can they go to find them?
Quite frankly, we're revamping everything. We have a new international headquarters in Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois. That's brand new. We just signed our lease with a 100-seat training center. We have a book, The Blueprint. I've written 6 books, but The Blueprint, you can get that on Amazon. It's a blueprint that all of my clients have used, and their goals and visions are even in there without their names. But after you read that book, you will be able to design your own blueprint. We have an app coming out that will be out in the second quarter of this year for everybody. Right now, it's only for my clients. But if you reach out to ask Jim at jimfannin.com, I can connect you with a coach who doesn't have my fees, and I don't have a lot of time. But we do have coaches for you. We have e-courses for you, and you can go check us out also at jimfannin.com.
Wonderful, Jim. So for those listening, ask Jim at jimfannin.com. Check that out. That's something I'm going to actually do. I've really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day, Jim. You have a wonderful breadth of experience that everybody listening should seriously drop everything and look into it, because that's what I'm going to do right now when we get off this podcast.
And by the way, I've coached a lot of Vanderbilt athletes. I coached Jake Eater, who I'm coaching now. He was on your baseball national championship team. He was a big flamethrower. He is an unbelievable, disciplined, focused, confident, very smart guy. He's reduced his thoughts 50%. The average person has 2,000 or 3,000 thoughts a day. Here's a Vanderbilt grad who's now thinking far less than that and producing more. So go Commodores.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for joining, and hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Alex's Asylum.
Thanks, Alex. Be in the zone.